Despite their best efforts, Dante and the Damned Dozen were still defeated by Lei Heng, capo of the Fung, and one of the 10 Blades to the east. Yes, despite their best efforts and Dante's new Golden Bow ability, it still wasn't enough to defeat Lei Heng, who observed that they're more of a sprinter than a marathoner. Their power doesn't even hold up when the fight drags on and time's up. He was impressed that they made it that far. This was where it would end for them. Dante didn't understand. He should have been brought down to their level. Faust made it clear that Lei Heng had the advantage in combat experience. He had more of it than they did. Sinclair made it clear that he could barely stand. He would have told him to stop complaining, believing that they'll get him eventually. He was usually blunt. Dante even knew that determination was the only thing keeping some of them standing. The Taikan Temple was right in front of them, but they simply can't get past Lei Heng. Jacques said that they were the key to stopping that war's powder keg from blowing, but they were stopped by that one man on a bridge between them and the temple. Dante thought that they'd finally found a way to even things out by resonating with the Golden Bow, but they didn't see how they could get past this wall. Then Jacques revealed himself. Clearly the Damned Dozen lasted long enough for him to get there, so it wasn't a completely wasted effort. Lei Heng noted that he got there fast. He took his time, and he arrived there as he was about to finish them off. Then he realized that Zilu didn't drag that, or rather dig that hole for no reason. Lei Heng believed that he came all the way there to see him, believing that things would go badly without him fighting out there. Jacques saw his presence there as more important, as Dante and the Damned Dozen aren't the kind of people who must stagnate there. Lei Heng asked if that was so, understanding that Jacques intended to fight him. This would determine who would greet them when they're done, as in who would roll out the red carpet. Yes, the red carpet. Jacques' expression roughly translated to, spare me. Lei Heng always wanted to kick his and it's a fine place to do that. He was burning up just thinking about it. Jacques wasn't baited by his provocations. He then looked to Zilu, who was barely breathing, slumped against the wall. He asked Zilu how long she'll remain in slumber. Lei Heng told him that she's not waking up anytime soon. He cut her up good, offering to put him to rest right next to her. His blade flashed with fire once again, charging with a lightning strike against, and indeed towards, Jacques, but his staff stopped his gunblade. This was a cause for concern for Honglu. Jacques told him to go. Lei Heng's forces had already been alerted to the fact that Jia Sichun had already entered the Taikan Temple. In the brief moment where Jia Sichun completes her ascension and exits the Taikan Temple, they'll attempt to cut her head off before she gains full control, using the loophole that the ritual to become the family hierarch isn't truly over until she rises to the surface. She lacks the substantial foundation, nor a sponsor to protect her. No family will come to her aid. They're simply waiting for someone to kill her, while not getting involved themselves. However, he said, as he continued to clash with Lei Heng, One thing that he can give them is that once they enter and until they exit with Jia Sichun, none shall cross that bridge while he stands. Jia Sichun will survive that day. Honglu vowed to bring her back safely and escort her to the seat of the family hierarch. Jia Q saw this as a considerable undertaking for any family to strike down a family hierarch, even one without a foundation. Then Lin Dai showed up, wanting to assist against Lei Heng. This surprised Honglu, asking how she got there. Lei Heng was surprised by this as well, as he thought that the Zui family turned against Dagyuan Luan. Lin Dai corrected him by saying that not all of them has. She told Honglu that Zui Baochai sent her in secret to assist them. Honglu was unable to put what he was feeling into words. Lin Dai made it clear that she wasn't doing this for Yuan's future. It was because she didn't want Honglu to die there, in a way that would make him stay dead. Jia Q told her to stand with him, to assist him in fighting Lei Heng and the Thumb, to defeat any that makes it through him. She would gladly do this. Honglu thanked Lin Dai. Then Uti saw something up ahead. A different force marched towards the temple. Lei Heng saw it as only a matter of time, telling them to back their words up with action. Jia Q told Jia Bayu to go forth. He had faith that his heart was true. While Jia Q and Lin Dai were holding off the Thumb's forces, led by Lei Heng, Dante and the Damned Dozen reached Taikan Temple's entrance, only to find a couple of holes. Probably two of the biggest holes outside of the library. And we know one that's in there. That's one of the biggest holes around. And in that case, I'm being extra polite about him. Dante identified them as N-Corp with EGO gear, as if they were ready for war. Yes, it was Jiahuan and Gubo, and Jiahuan saw this as exactly as Director Herman said so. Yi Sang looks like he had enough of this. Gubo asked what brought sadness to his wilted and fallen fellow. He should have known that they'd be waiting for them, believing that the love of those in Limbus company had slowed his mind. Yi Sang replied by saying that the path he walked was a busy one. He had no words or sentiments to impart to someone like him. If he was a dear fellow, he'd make the time. Yi Sang brushed past him before he could respond. Meanwhile, Jiahuan, or the one that took the name of the original, observed that Honglu took his time. It's unclear if Gregor was off about the hints that Herman was being spoken of, or what Jiahuan said scornfully. He was apparently there to greet him and his friends, telling Gregor not to glare at him like that. They only need to accept their offer, and they don't need to fight. A temporary truce. Ishmael was caught off guard by this. Jiahuan had business to see to in there. Jia Baoyu was the only key, understanding that he was there for the golden bar, like he always was. For once, that's not what they're there for. They're there for the sample, something of greater importance than the golden bar. He believed that a skirmish that would be in vain would be best avoided. Sinclair, who had a terrible history with N-Corp, due to them killing his family and later his hometown, asked if they expected them to believe. Then Jiahuan asked them that if they really would have forfeited with so little hesitation if the golden bar was what they wanted. Coming in third would be more than enough to procure what they came there for. Ishmael, understanding that he wasn't acting on behalf of the Jia family, but N-Corp all along. Jia Huan believed them all to be that stupid he never hid his allegiance to Encore, asking for reasons that eluded him if they forgot about that. He saw it as beneath him to participate in the family hierarchy war for the honor of the Jia family, seeing it as worthless, clearly seeing honor and empty hands as worth empty hands. He never lived for that family since he changed his name. Honglu had nothing to say about that. And then Jia Huan revealed that the Shi family hired them, specifically N-Corp's League of Nine. They were there to void the results if a Shi family failed to win. Or rather, more specifically, a Shi family candidate failed to win. He had no respect towards the Shi family, seeing them as having mediocre qualifications. Yet they want something far beyond their reach. It's also clear that N-Corp doesn't give up easily. If they don't accept this truce, they can simply sit there and wait for them to do something, understanding that unlike them, N-Corp isn't pressed for time. Otis hopes that they're not taking his words at face value. Gregor confirms that they're not, but they didn't have any alternatives. He's already stalled them enough. Sinclair confirmed that they're running out of time. Jacques is strong, but not even he can hold off the opposing forces forever. This made Dante anxious. Jia Huan says that he's willing to leave them alone once they get what they came there for, but there's no way to be certain of that. But this isn't a good time to fight them, or to wait there for Jia Sichun to come out. Dante knew that it wouldn't be if they fought, but when. So it's better to enter a truce now, find Jia Sichun, and then fight them if they need to. Dante knew that they had to prioritize Jia Sichun no matter what. They told them to head inside. Honglu roughly translated this as, "Let's try your idea." Jia Huan then condescendingly remarked that Dante had some resemblance of intelligence by having him open the door, saying, "Here's to their fruitful yet brief cooperation," telling them to lead the way. They'll be right behind them. They finally made it to the great gates of Taikan Temple. Then Dante asked Honglu, as he approached the gate handles. One hand over his other eye, he brought his jade eye close to the engraved hole in the gates. The engraved hole in the gates, rather. He made it clear that his eye was the only key to opening the gates from the outside. It's so he can visit the elders whenever he was wanted by them there. Clearly it needed the one with it to be alive. Otherwise, someone would have fought to physically remove that eye to gain entry, although it's unclear if the one with that eye has to be dead or alive for it to work. In fact, I remember that from a movie where it also had a machine that automatically fined people for profanity. But Jia Bayu told his parents that he didn't want to go inside. He was scared. Yes, this was a vision of the past. Lady Wang referred to Bayu as the gem of their family. She told him that he shouldn't fear. It was always his destiny to be the precious jade of the family and the elders. It was decided the moment he was born. Jia Zheng reminded him that the revered Xianren awaited his arrival. He shouldn't make them wait. Jia Mu made it clear that she disapproved of Jia Zheng's craven behavior, unbecoming before the presence of a precious object. He apologized for this. She told Jia Bayu that he's not like the others. He was surprised by this. Only those blinded to the true forms find themselves delighted or repulsed by material beauty and malformation. The past and the future of Dagyuan Yuan. It's only thanks to their deeds and good karma that such luxuries of Dagyuan Yuan are permitted to them. They must always maintain a most grateful heart, asking if she's understood. Grateful? For being traumatized by so many terrible sights? Jia Baiyu protested, because they were so scary. He then told the Xianren that he was there. One of them greeted him, another told him that he waited long for his arrival, another made strange noises. Jia Baiyu, understanding that it's their molting day. A suffering attendant begged him to save them. If he'd known, he'd never have volunteered. The molting one made more noises than another elder, hinted that the attendants were there to sustain at least one of them. As they were enjoying that attendant down to the spinal marrows, another elder reminded them to hand its flesh over to them once they've drank it in full, hinting that one of them is a blood fiend. Their greed in claiming extra chunks of its flesh almost harmed the integrity of their body. They also couldn't wait for when Jia Baiyu was fully grown. They eagerly awaited the day that he could depart Dagyuan Yuan to see beyond it, to witness and hear things of great worth. Jia Baiyu thanked them. Back in the present, Jia Mu welcomed him, seeing it as too early for him to greet the elders. The ascension of the new family hierarch has yet to be completed. Rodia saw Jia Sichun. Dante could see that she was on an altar, unconscious, and one of the elders, who was most likely a blood fiend due to the blood packs and the tubes in them, saw them. Despite their sudden arrival, the elders all turned to them at once without even a mild hint of surprise. The horror was clear on Ishmael's face, and she has seen much in the Great Lake, asking if they're the revered Xianren that all of Dagyuan Yuan venerate and worship so profusely? Jia Mu confirmed this, knowing that this would happen. An elder with tree branches growing out of them told them to come hither. The one that looks like he had used the lament configuration, or Lemanchan's box, was looking forward to meeting them all. Cinquer was surprised that they recognized them. The skinless elder thought that the blood-crafted rides at the amusement park made for quite the interesting show, likely referring to La Mancha Land, which irritated Don Quixote as the scars of that mission were still quite fresh. They were aware that blood fiends were imbued with rather unique powers, yet it was most enticing to witness the manifestations of their might himself. Even he didn't know that a higher kindred commanded such overwhelming might. His abilities were quite distinguished from that of the blood fiend elder of Hongguan, likely referring to first kindred Don Quixote, implying that the elder that's a blood fiend is likely below second kindred in terms of power. The blood fiend elder then spoke of the laboratory in the basement of Wuthering Heights. The skinless elder saw this as a wondrous sight. The blood fiend elder was most delighted to watch Linton melt into nothingness, only to be remolded and reborn as something new, likely referring to Erlking Heathcliff. They should have been there to hear their thunderous applause. Then the cyborg elder commended them all for the sheer hatred and ferocity that they demonstrated when they rode so valiantly into the pallid whale's stomach, seeing this as a dramatic moment, feeling the heat of their determination to take a life from there. the fire of hatred and vengeance. Don Quixote was not happy about this, understanding that they've been watching them since day one. One of the elders made it clear that they were able to do this through Jabayu's jade that was implanted from birth. The Blood Fiend elder saw this as a priceless offering. The Skinless elder saw it as a wise decision to make him leave. The Cyborg elder told them that they didn't have a moment to feel even an inkling of tedium, adding that it was quite exciting to see them all. Previously, they only saw them through the jade. The Part Plant elder saw that in recent years in the city, some subset of the population would see the present circumstance as the occasion to receive their signatures to a mysterious end. Autographs. Then the elder, that looked like he was cosplaying as the face of Bo, called this subset as fans. Yi Sang asked what manner of insanity was this? Well, he's not wrong about that, as this looks like something that would have been made if Clive Barker and Stephen King had a collaborative effort and decided to throw away any of their standards. He saw that they sought immortality so diligently, only to encase themselves in that theatre of fools where they do nothing but leer at plays made up of the lives of others. Well, why not? That's how reality TV has worked for years. All that emptiness, filled with the struggle against tedium. Yeah, another way of putting it is, through all their immortality, all that time, the only thing that they struggle to conquer is boredom. Then Skinless saw this as true enlightenment, the most important part of life. Part Plant completed that sentence by saying it's pleasure all along. The Cyborg elder saw all other emotion as meaningless and fleeting. They no longer feel them. The Jarred elder saw death as finite, but boredom as infinite. Then Jia Sichun regained consciousness and noticed Honglu there. Jia Mu noticed this as well. Jia Sichun seemed disoriented, not knowing where she was, and then noticed Jia Mu. Jia Mu told her that she was in the noblest part of Dagyuan Yuan, where the revered Xianren resided. She has only one more ritual to complete to become the family hierarch. The terror in Jia Sichun's voice was clear to Dante. Jia Mu then told her to present herself with the utmost respect for their ancestor, their steadfast roots, the one who has become an another worm for the sake of Hongguan, the great families and their descendants. Yes, in one of the Haishu identities, there are those that contain the memories of humans. The elders praise the Xianwang worm, the Anamna worm of the immortal emperor, including an elder that looks like a member of the Hut Cartel. Dante saw that the trembling voices began to swell with emotion, as they began to harmonize as one. Then something squirmed beneath the skin of Jamu's neck. It continued to quiver, slowly taking shape, sculpting into a face, then to a head protruding from her flesh. This grossed Radia out. She didn't want to look. Dante saw a face that looked so benevolent that it was almost eerie. Ishmael asked if that thing was an Anamna worm. Jamu told her that only by accepting him into her body shall she have the honor of becoming one with the revered Xianren in both Psyche and Soma. The unparalleled honor of receiving generations of knowledge, wisdom, all of which had been accumulated through their venerated elders. She should be honored to be in the audience of such a great man. He was the first to be metamorphosed into the form of an Anamna worm, the founding hierarch of Dagyuan Yuan. One could spend their entire lifetime venerating and exalting him, and they would still fall short of all the blessings that he had bestowed upon them. This did nothing to calm Jia Zichun. I can read between the lines. The foundation of Hongguan was rotten to the core. The founding hierarch sounded positively deranged and a functional psychopath, considering what the other elders are like. Immortality is more a curse than a blessing. The way of Hongguan is one of stagnation. Jiamu told Honglu that he hasn't graced his presence until now. Skinless praised his greatest quantity of deeds, his wisdom was without equal. The Bloodfiend Elder informed Honglu that the plan to manifest the precious jade of Dagyuan Yuan was formulated by him. The Cyborg Elder told them that many years passed until the family hierarchs, both those that came before and after them, came to realize that what they needed was amusement. The Part Plant Elder told them that they're suffering from tedium and meaninglessness, that all-consuming emptiness. He bestowed that royal palace with a peerless gem for them. The Jarred Elder told them that it was the day that Taikan Temple was complete, a land of endless amusement and pleasure, a land where they needn't empty their thoughts. The Hut Elder asked if it was not paradise on earth. It's a living hell for those who provide it for you. Ryushu saw it as revolting. She was visibly disgusted by these insects that scour for morsels of satisfaction from peeping. You know, it says a lot when Wednesday Addams' martial arts teacher, someone that would look at a battlefield full of bloodshed and smile as if she was a child at an amusement park that was completely normal, and not a front for blood fiends. So if she was disgusted by this, a blood knight, it's especially wrong. Yi Sang's opinion was just as condemning, as it sacrificed so many innocent lives for so little, all for those deficient forms of immortality. Gregor didn't see them as enlightened ones, they were vile ghouls. Honglu was much calmer, having seen these horrors many times as a child. He then asked Jiamu what happens when the new hierarch accepts the Amamna worm of the great ancestor. Jiamu answered this by saying that she'll be gifted with the accumulated wisdom of all the Zenren there. She'll be freed from that pathetic, disconnected body of an individual, free to share both her emotions and reason with all of them, eventually evolving into a transcendent being that exists solely to dedicate herself for the prosperity of Dagyuan Yuan. The price of immortality is too high. Honglu considered this, asking, do all that accept the Zhanhuang worm end up desiring immortality? Jiamu saw that all of those who have accomplished a certain degree of deeds naturally carry the desire for immortality. It was simply human. More like it's simply psychopathic. She believed that all family hierarchs find their own secret to immortality over the course of their reign, to the day that they abdicate that responsibility, as all Xianren have done. Rodia failed to comprehend this obsession They all carried the mantle of hierarch, the top dog of a wing, lived it up all their lives, yet they hide away like that in a dark basement. Skinless saw them as insignificant worms destined to crawl their entire miserable lives under their feet to their dying days. To part that world having accomplished nothing, shall not understand, nor do they want to, seeing you as having delusions of godhood. The Blood Fiend Elder told them that to refuse the void of non-existence, leaving behind all of their labours and accomplishments that have brought Hongyuan to its present glory, is unthinkable to them. Yes, they would rather refuse the void of non-existence and continue existing. The cyborg elder believed that if they should fall, so would Dagyuan Yuan and Hongyuan. Now, that would only apply if they had a fail-safe that caused unbelievable damage should all of them die. Part Plant asked how are they to leave Hongyuan behind, their own creation, the life of a hierarch destined to peter out before it even reaches a century is hardly enough time to truly lead. The Jarred Elder told them that they existed at Hongyuan's start. The Hut Elder added that they'll exist at the end of Hongyuan. This incensed Heathcliff, regretting that question ever being asked, as he's got the whole bloody chorus from that. Jia Mu decided that they've delayed for too long. She told Jia Sichun to accept the anamna worm of the ancestors very much like the experience of being reborn, asking if that's not what she sought so desperately. To stand before the masses in their undivided attention and awe. Jia Sichun asked if she's going to be like them as well. She recognized one of them, her great-great-grandfather. She thought that he'd left to meditate quite some time ago. He used to sneak that elder snacks and speak of so many fables and stories. Jia Mu told her that fear is a fleeting feeling next to an eternity of euphoria that waits her. She experienced that herself. She then approached her, then Honglu walked towards Jia Sichun and asked her if she remembered what she asked him earlier. They flashed back to before she boarded the palanquin to Dagyuan Yuan, where she asked if it's even his call or is he just following orders. Honglu didn't really understand why she asked that, but now he'd like to ask her the same thing. The irony was unlikely to be lost on Jia Sichun. Honglu asked if she really wants to become the family hierarch. She hesitated. Then she remembers one of her surprise birthday parties that Honglu organized. She thought that day was so much fun. She got to play with him all day and she got a present too. She didn't even have to do anything. She thought it would be so cool if they could play like that forever. After recalling this, Jia Sichun didn't want that. Not like this. As in, with a worm implanted in her that turns her into an uncaring psychopath obsessed with immortality. Jia Huan saw this as ridiculous. Gubo didn't approve of this either. Clearly they understood the situation and simply didn't care. They'd embrace this without a second thought, and the worm would likely amplify the negative aspects of them at worst and do nothing at all at best. Jia Mu gave no about what she wanted. She saw tradition willing that sacred ritual. Again, delusions of godhood. Seeing tradition as not to be defied, as the elders have, as they have. Then, with an ominous tone, she said that she should simply do as she's told, for this is the hierarch's destiny. Ishmael saw this as a bad joke. Far from it being destiny, or even a sacred ritual, it's a bunch of beyond geriatric looking to turn her into another tool in their hands to prop up their opulence. They can't force her to doing something that she didn't want. Ishmael, I wouldn't be surprised if they intended to implant it in her when she was unconscious, in essence making that decision for her. Gubo was amused by this, seeing Ha-Young, like the Yisang's friends, as talking as if they're in a dreamland. It's why Honglu is with them. Then Jiamu ironically stated to Jia Sichun, a foolish girl, that the will of an individual is trivial in Dagyuan Yuan. The USSR believed the same thing. Where is it now? Jiamu believed that only by the acceptance of the truth shall she preserve her life. How dares she allow such insolence to guide her tongue? Yep, there's the psychopath in Jiamu. Displeased when someone deviates from the script. Truth to her is a flexible commodity. Yes, especially to Jiamu's kind. Skinless didn't think much of Ishmael, seeing her, a rebel by nature, as no reason to pay heed to her, seeing hers as a puerile resistance to an immature being. As opposed to what? The wisdom of a morally bankrupt being? Asking what do children who have experienced less than half a century know to speak of wisdom? More than those that have lived too long in stagnation. Skinless believing that they know better than anyone, having watched their entire journey. The blood fiend elder saw their lives as shaped by nothing but foolhardy, young, witless and flawed choices. Says the decadent elders that are okay with tormenting a child by forcing him to watch horrific things. In fact, it's a miracle that Jia Baiyu wasn't as psychotic as Zui Pan. Who knows how many others they did this to. The jarred elder saw from those choices that they found amusement and that adventure was possible. Half-plants seeing adventures as luxuries of imbeciles, seeing it as quite enthralling to watch as they made choices that they never could have made. Likely because they'd make the less moral choices if they were there. The cyborg elder told them that they watched them as they battled their way there, so they know what they came there for. The deal that Half-Plant offered was this. Let the Amanda worm enter Jia Sichun, help her to assume the responsibility of the hierarch, and all that chaos, that adventure shall be resolved. They will then only await the next amusement to begin. The cyborg elder told Jiamu that it'd be thoughtless of them to not bring up the day of the Kong family massacre when discussing their finest amusements. Jiamu was honored by this. There's no honor in orchestrating the destruction of a family for no reason other than they might be planning a takeover. Skinless spoke of non-human beings of intelligence birthed within the boundaries of that city, breeding again and again. The Bloodfiend elder speaking of those newborns torn and ripped apart by the head before being swept away. The cyborg elder saw it as the creme de la creme, their little witness, Jia Baiyu, his tears blurring his vision as his most fascinating transformation from that day onwards. They all experienced the height of stimulation that day. So you found amusement from traumatizing a child, forcing him to watch such horrors and ruining his life. You lot are truly more trouble than you're worth. The jarred elder praised Jamu. It was quite the effort. Half-Plant told her that she may join them in eternal witnessing to the last of her endless days. Skinless told her to look forward to the new amusement that Jia Sichun shall bring them. Yeah, Jia Sichun. Then Half-Plant, believing that calling them young and foolish adventurers is a charm offensive to get them to stay out of the way, seeing them as companions of Jabayu. The cyborg elder told them to fulfill their purpose of coming there. Dagyuan Yuan's survival hinges on the completion of the next family hierarch's ascension. Dante saw that they weren't wrong. Their purpose for coming there was to quickly certify the next family hierarch, have her remove the outside forces that have invaded Dagyuan Yuan and prevent this war from growing worse. But Skinless also mentioned that they were also there to retrieve the golden bar. This reminded Half-Plant about this. The Bloodfiend Elder knew that they gathered under one banner to find them and are motivated solely to acquire them. The Cyborg Elder ordered Jamu to show it to them. Show them the gift that they have prepared. Likely extracted from the District 8 branch facility at some point within the last year. They certainly had the resources and the time to do so. She obeyed. Then Dante saw the other thing that they came there for, the golden bar, shimmering in its familiar incandescence. She told Honglu to do as he has always done, accept the golden bar and embark on his next adventure for them. The elders told him that it was their gift, their token of appreciation to him for the amusement that he has provided and will continue to provide. Honglu hesitated. Sinclair tried to get his attention. Dante was unsure if he was worried about that choice that Honglu would make, if he was sympathetic towards him. Dante then went up to Sinclair, who noticed them. Dante believed that Honglu has got it. They knew what choice Honglu would make, based on what he's experienced on their journey. How those that have dealt with their unfinished businesses have resolved them, to overcome their past, and also knowing what he stands to lose from this mission should he make the choice that could be costly. Jamu was puzzled by Honglu, who had a light smile on his lips. He stood still. Jia Huan was observing this and told him to not let him down this time. Jamu was one that had so graciously presented that opportunity before him, telling him to seize it. Honglu then asked Jamu, what will she do if Jia Sichun refuses to accept the Anamna worm to the end? She told him that the exalted Xianhuang Anamna worm was too frail to have his form manifested outside a body for too long. This sacred ritual to accept him into one's body was a very precise procedure. Yes, a very precise procedure where resistance could lose, well, it could result in a significant risk to her life. The same rabble who are willing to abandon their own flesh and blood if it meant they could seize power. Gregor understood that if Jia Sichun refuses to the end, they'll force it on her, even if it risks her life. He then asked angrily, if she dies, they'll swap her out with someone else? Skinless told them that it's why she must accept him willingly. This made Sinclair erupt in disgust, seeing the whole family hierarch war as a sham, a meaningless charade, a contrived condition that they have to find the answer to immortality and kick all of your siblings off some stupid competition to become the family hierarch. All of it, just for their filthy greed and their disgusting amusements. Well, couldn't put it better myself, Sinclair. The blood-fiend elder then imparted counsel on the orphan child of tragic stupidity. Skinless then asked what other method would there be, if not the family hierarchy evaluation, to determine if a prospective candidate is someone with enough wit to provide them amusement, like Jamu's destruction of the Kong family. Half-Plant saw this psychopath's manipulation as an example that it's no meaningless charade. Hong Lu, after a pause, apologized to Jamu. He couldn't take the golden bar. This was the last thing that she was expecting. Asking why does he choose that path? Limbus Company desires nothing more than the golden bar. Hong Lu can't deny this, but then we see the memory of Jabo's first meeting with Faust, the day that he joined Limbus Company. He told her that he doesn't have a wish or anything like that. So as long as they can help him to continue to float away, he'll do what they ask of him. This was new to Faust, seeing it as troublesome to employ him with an incomplete wish. Clearly they can't recruit him without filling in everything in the forms. Red tape gets everywhere, doesn't it? Faust then proposed something. They promised him to give him something to desire, something to want. He didn't even know what it meant to want. Faust said that it was a sensation to move his heart, a sort of hunger, a yearning. Once he has that, he'll no longer simply float downstream, surrender to the ebb and flow of the water currents. In the present, he understood that it was the time to do so, even if it means that he must push against the currents, even if it means that he'll be abandoned. He can't just sit there and watch as she is forced by Jiamu to become the kind of hierarch that she doesn't want to be. Jia Huan didn't comprehend this. He'd walk away from that comfortable, treaded path and venture a thorny one? He would have even more blood in his hands, believing all that he had to do was to let it happen, and they could both gain what they came there for and leave, ending this excruciating experience of having to look at his face. Who would it ask what N-Corp is even after? Jia Huan had a question for all of them. Has any of them walked a pristine path with no bloodshed? Can they really say that they've not caused anyone to suffer in their pursuit of golden bars? They've left behind countless deaths and sacrifices for that sole purpose, turning a blind eye to every single suffering in their wake. Well, they have caused death. Many of them were deserving of that suffering, although a few were victims of deceit from those like you. He asked, what's another death, another sacrifice? Is Jia Sichun, who he's never spoken with in quite some time, suddenly more important than the golden bar, seeing this as rich hypocrisy? They're close enough for Jia Sichun not to attack him on sight, and she was disgusted at the thought of trying to kill him. Also, the only thing you're capable of sacrificing is your dignity, as sacrifice involves giving up the valued, not the worthless. You're the kind to lie, cheat and steal just to get the last snack, never mind more. In fact, you'd probably throw Gubo under the bus if it served your interests. He made it sound so simple, even though it's not to any with a working moral compass. That they should pursue their interests, pursue the reward that lies right before their eyes. Why must they make things so difficult? Hong Lu was wondering the same thing. All the time, he had no problems of watching things float away. So why is it hard to let go all of a sudden? Gubo understood that the truth was no more, as Jia Sichun, that he saw as an insignificant element, had to accept the number worm before they're to acquire what they came there for. Jia Huan was disgusted by this care that Hong Lu had for his sister, something which he found incomprehensible, caring for someone else other than oneself. Yet, it was the death of the original Jia Huan that resulted in this hostility towards Hong Lu in the first place. N-Corp then decided to attack them. During this boss battle, Hong Lu will have the Will to Confront status, which increases clash power by 2 if it's against Jia Huan. And if Yi Sang was selected, he will have the Responsibility status, which grants him that same bonus to clash power against Gubo. In this, N-Corp is fought directly. Jia Huan wielding the Contempt, or Egio, with a matching sword, which primarily inflicts bleed, and if a target has 3 or more gaze, this doubles negative status effects inflicted. He also gains coin power if there's enough bleed. One attack can inflict defense level down, a fixed target attack inflicts fragile, deals 10 SP damage, and can bring them closer to stagger equal to the amount of gaze on the target, times 5, but at the cost of removing gaze. There's also an attack that prioritizes Hong Lu that inflicts 4 grasp, which inflicts 10 bind and grants him 2 damage up next turn. When there's a follow-up attack that prioritizes those with grasp, his counter reduces the target's grasp and gaze if it loses. One attack even attacks more than one, the number depending on the amount of people with gaze status, which inflicts bind. Gaze is an effect that results in 10% more damage being taken by and dealt to Jia Huan, so 10% receiving and sending. As for Spiral Warp Shield block, that grants both him and Gubo 30 shield. He's weak to Lust, Gluttony and Gloom, but strong against Wrath and to a lesser extent Pride. He gains Egio Corrosion status at every turn end. He gains 1 more each turn at 50% HP or less. This eats as his SP and causes 5% HP damage, but grants him more attack power. He inflicts gaze on those that he hits, and on Hong Lu, he gains more resistance when there are targets with grasp. If he's attacked by 5 or more, they lose 10 HP and SP. If there are other allies that are still able to fight. Gubo wields the Fell Bullet Egio. He also bleeds his opponent, but he also gains poise, as in that which has a chance for, critical damage. He also gains coin power based on bleed. He has an attack where the first coin hits the foremost target, and the second coin hits only sub-targets. He also attacks his subordinates at times to gain 5 poise. Heal 20 SP, killing them. But this will be cancelled if the target is already dead. Only sub-targets gain both bleed and sinking. He has an unbreakable multi-target attack which damages more based on the torn memory he has, but uses it up after. It inflicts bleed, sinking, and SP damage. His clashable counter grants poise if he hits the enemy target. He's weak to Sloth, Gluttony, and Envy, but strong against Gloom, and to a lesser extent Pride. He also has Egio Corrosion. heals 5 SP if he hits the enemy, but loses 5 SP if the clash is lost. His attack pattern can change if he's at less than minus 20 SP, or if the lesser Encore are at less than 50% HP. As for the grunts, their sticking EGO gear implies that they have the fairy long legs abnormality. It has the same bleed infliction as their superiors, it's just not as good. They gain speed and a block can inflict paralysis. They can also gain poise each turn and grant it to a random ally. If they inflict a critical hit, they heal 1% HP for every bleed on the target, up to 10%. Once per encounter. When at 50% HP or less, they're weak to slash, rough. Actually, no. This is... the healing is when they're at 50% HP or less. But as for their vulnerabilities, they're weak to slash, wrath, gluttony, and envy, but strong against sloth and to a lesser extent, all other physical damage. Yet, when they're defeated, the spiral warp field shields them both, preventing damage from being received. Typical Encore. When their enemy is already weakened or they can't see them coming, they're able to beat them easier. But in direct combat, they are much less effective. There's one more matter to attend to before this is concluded for Limbus Company. Until next time, hail the rabbit!